Okay, what is going on, everybody? It's Catch. How we doing today? It's a Monday. I haven't played ACC or GTS since last week, so I've been a little bit busy. I'm just kind of getting in here to show some guys and gals, whoever they might be. Hopefully, some Rockafella Racing. That's our team. Hopefully, our guys start to make some transformation over to the GTS side. From there to ACC. We already have some people in iRacing. So yeah, so that's really exciting that we're not going to necessarily leave the GTS platform through SFR, our league that we run, but we do want to start getting more involved with some other sims and expand our wings a little bit. And me personally, I just happen to really love this sim, and I do say sim because it is a sim compared to some other games out there, as opposed to GTS. We're all waiting for a GT7 and PS5, but in the meantime, I think obviously other people have made videos, big time YouTubers like Z28, for example, a friend of mine, some of our just regular drivers out there, David Perel, of course, is out there on PC. Yadier's out there on PC. There's so many people out there that are just like so well knowledge in ACC and streaming in general. But I'm setting this video up basically for some basics, some setup basics for our drivers on our team and whoever else might be out there. Because I know when I first put this in and I bought this game on release, I was like lost. I really didn't know what to do. And contrary to what most people might believe, there's really not too many things out there that you'll find on the internet. I mean, you could search, YouTube hard and find some decent stuff. I mean, Aris, of course, is a developer for GTS. I mean, for GTS for ACC, and he's on PC naturally, but he's awesome Italian guy, and he is completely knowledgeable, so you could find good things on there. But if you're looking to just get into the game and like see what this sim is about and like figure out what do I do, how do I start, and you're one of those people like me that came from GTS and is making their way over to ACC, it's not as easy as you think to pick up. You're gonna have some trouble with the cars, and you're not gonna realize really what you're doing. So they have done a really great job, I will say, from the time that they released this sim to what they have done now with the latest update. So you'll see, if we exit out of here, up in the top right hand corner, you should have the 1.5.4 update. Okay, so what they did, let's get into this stuff real quick here. You could do the championship, you could do the career mode, all this stuff everybody knows looks exactly like the PC version, for the most part. The career mode and the championships are really not. So I mean, look, you could do it, and it's okay. Don't get me wrong. I haven't done the championship at all, but the career mode, it's okay. I mean, they start you off in a trofeo, and you can't even pick once you complete their little basic process. I would recommend, if you just put this in for the first time, start it up, get used to their little trofeo that they put you at Monza, with an introduction they give you. And it gives you some night weather, some rain, and just some basic lap stuff at Monza. And then from there, you have a few of the cars to pick from. You don't have all the options of all these cars. So, before I get into here, what they did do, though, is what you could start out from doing here. You could start out in the options menu. So what you want to do is If you want to take a look at my audio, the master volume I have here just for streaming purposes, but this is a pretty good setup, so I'll leave it on the screen right now to get you into where you want to be when you're actually in game. With your master volume would be at 100 instead of 50 like mine is right now, and from there, all these other settings here that I have, they're pretty good for in-game. Things like your onboard engine, your exterior. Obviously, you want your tires always at 100%. You want to be able to hear that. It's the same thing in GTS. But you take a look at chassis and damage. Damage is when you hit a wall or crash. You know, you don't really need that kind of stuff. And then this is for all your pit command, your spotter, and all that stuff. So yeah, so you can take a look at that. That's audio. I would also recommend that everybody that has any of your wheels, definitely get the latest software that's updated for your wheels. You have to do that, especially with this new update. That is highly recommended. So Thrustmasters, Fanatec, G29s, you don't have to do that for. There hasn't been an updated version for that since God knows how long. Same thing, I'm sure, with the G920. The new Logitech, though, it should come programmed, but you'll want to double check that anyway. Now, there are things out there, settings out there for you to figure out, what the best setup is for your wheel, but I'm going to go through some of these things here. So when you go into general, this is pretty much basic stuff here, okay? You can copy this. Online stats, I have that off. All the other stuff I have basically on, okay? Assists. You don't want to have this stuff on automatic. You could do this stuff like engine start. You could put manual. I do have a button for wipers. Lights are automatic. Pit limiters automatic. Stability control, big deal. Always have that off. And ideal line. This is something that you might want to put on for tracks that you don't know. There's a lot of tracks in here that aren't from GTS. So, for example, you go to Zolder. Might not be a track, or Mazzano might not be a track that you're familiar with. You could just throw this line on to visible, and what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to hit X on your wheel to save it. Okay, because if I just leave it on visible, but I hit circle, and then I come back in here, see how it's still on hidden? So anything that you do, you have to move the button and hit X, and that saves it. See, now it's on visible. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and turn that back off. I'm going to hit X. But when you're on assist here, you see how it's on custom. And you can move that stuff with your shifters, your left and right, up, down, shift. But that's pretty much what you want to have that stuff on right now. Some people think it's really cool that I could hit a button to start my engine. And sure, if you want it, why not? Pit limiter, if you have enough buttons on your wheel, sure, why not? Me personally, I don't want to start my engine. I don't want to worry about my pit limiter. I just want to make sure that those things are on automatic. But I do need my lights on automatic. You'll have flashers that you could assign that we'll get into in a minute. But I want to make sure that I could have my wipers on manual, because if I'm in the middle of a race and it's sunny, and with this sim it starts raining all of a sudden, I have my wipers on manual. Okay, so the next thing is your HUD. Okay, this is pretty basic stuff here, guys, so all that stuff you could keep on. There's one important component in here that is going to give you something that you need here. This is pretty good too for me when you're online. Driver online IDs, so their names don't pop above their car. It kind of looks a little sketchy in this sim. I just have that off because you can see who's in front of you on the leaderboard. So I personally like that when it's off myself. Okay. But when you get into, is it the HUD here? No, you know, obviously you could change miles per hour. Maybe it's in assists. Where is it here? It's got to be here. Okay, yeah, here you go. Rating practice info. So this is going to correlate with some things you could do on your own. When you first put this in, you're not even going to really have this up on the right hand side yet. Like if you ever notice people, they have about five or six different basically stats on the upper right hand side. You can leave this on auto, but it also allows you to do certain things that you want to work on: track competence, consistency, car control. Or if it's on auto, it'll automatically start to set you off. So no matter what you do, whether you jump in single player or you jump in career mode, those things will start building up auto, and you have to hit a certain level to unlock the next stat. Okay, so these are just basic things now, guys. We're just going over the basics. I swear we're gonna get into the gameplay in a minute. Controls. All right. Now. Excuse me. This is where you want to what you really want to get into here. They added in the new update the steering scale. The linear's been there and the brake cam has been there. This is my settings for the G29. Okay. Now I was told to never go over 20 on road effects, and quite frankly, you don't need it. Now you could play around with this. Every wheel is different, so like I said, it's very important that you have the software updated on your wheel before you start messing around with this stuff. Now, one important thing is steering lock. Okay, that's basically the 1-to-1 ratio. Is what I mean by that is when you're looking in the car, is an easy way to tell if you turn your wheel all the way to the left, does it match up with the way that your driver is turning the wheel inside the car. So certain cars call for different steering locks. There's a whole list out there. Now, I find that true in a lot of cases for a lot of cars, but I'm kind of stubborn. And again, this is basically down to preference here when we're talking about this. Like for the 488 that I particularly drive, it's supposed to be at 480. That's what's recommended, but I use it at anywhere between 600 and 750 depending on the track. So when you start diving a little deeper in there, and usually I tend to leave it at just one of those two. I tend to leave it at 750, and it's just more comfortable for me. So you're gonna have to find out what's more comfortable for you. Okay, now you have to start assigning buttons when you get over here. So pretty self-explanatory. To get into the buttons, to assign them, you're going to hit the X button, and I'm not going to do it now so it doesn't change things up on me, but you're going to hit the X button and you're going to hit what button you want for an assignment. So I would hit X, I click the right paddle shifter, that's my upshift. I go down, I hit X, click the left paddle shifter, that's my downshift. Okay, then we have ignition, starter, pit limiter. Like I told you before, I use all those on automatic. Toggle wiper is also on automatic, but you don't need that because I have it as R3. So when it starts raining, you hit R3 one time, it's slow wiper, 2, faster, another time, faster, and eventually off. Okay? Next dash page, again, some of these you don't need because they are in what's called your MFD or your HUD. Okay, we'll get into that in a minute or so when we get on track. But you could come down here, and this is something I would recommend: increase and decrease traction control. Some cars have traction control, 2 different traction controls. Some cars have 1. The Ferrari has 2. The Aston Martin, for example, has 1. But this is something I highly recommend. Easy access that you could get to, and increase or decrease your traction control on the fly. This is for the second traction control. when on cars that have two. I tend to not worry about that. Again, you're gonna start running out of buttons on your wheel, so just take what's necessary. ABS, it's not really that important because you could increase that or decrease that elsewhere before you start. Brake bias. This is actually something that you're going to want to deal with as well. You're not going to have to probably worry about it as much when you first start playing, but it's good to have here. I have like the red button on the G29, the spin wheel, so clockwise to increase it, counterclockwise to decrease it. Engine map, that is your obviously your fuel. You want engine power. There's again options for that. You don't need that. Flashers, so what that means is don't get confused. That's not the same flashers as Gran Turismo where your hazards are on. That's flashers to get back markers out of your way or just say hi to your buddy before you overtake him. Okay. Rain light you don't need because that's going to be automatic. Left indicator or right indicator, I mean, you don't really need that. You could just pull over and people know that you'll let them pass. But again, yeah, cycle camera. Okay, so that's your different views. So you're definitely going to want to assign a button to that. Look left, look right, look back. So you're going to have to do all this stuff when you first get in here. And there you go. Cycle HUD MFD up. That's a very important button. So no matter what, you're going to definitely need to assign that button. You don't need to don't have to worry about the down. Save replay. They have a problem with replays and highlights right now in this PS4 version and Xbox, so you don't have to worry about that. Plus, you could do that after the race is over anyway, once they eventually fix it. Okay, and then all this stuff is the rest of the TCS and the ABS. So, yeah, again, you're not going to need to worry about that. Here's your engine mapping. You don't need to worry about a lot of this stuff because it's also in your MFD HUD that we said to assign that I have to my X button here. Okay, so we'll get into that in a few minutes. There it is right there. All that other stuff is actually in there. Once you set all this up, though, you're going to come down here and you're going to obviously want to save it. Okay, so you see on the bottom left I have a bunch of different G29, 1, 2, new update, old update, because there was obviously a bunch of different things that I did. Put a preset name in there, save it, and you're off to the races. Okay, now what they also did is they allowed you now to customize your drivers. There's showing 3 of them. Mine is the middle because that's my main guy, but you could customize up to 3 because when you're doing like single races or when you're doing the career mode, there's mandatory driver swaps and you have to actually swap a driver. So you know, you can make them all the same suit, but really what you're concerned about is the main guy. So they have some cool stuff in here that you could check out. You could change the suits, change the names, the whole 9 yards. The abbreviation over there is what will pop up on your windshield as your last name. Some people just leave that blank and it says player, PLY, but I like to be official, so I put my name there, okay? And you guys can figure out uniforms. This little kind of stuff is kind of big for me. I like this stuff. I mean, this sim is not so much about that, but I'm a livery guy. I'm a suit guy. I like this stuff. That's pretty cool. But what over here is when you get into the rating now, okay? So I'm a platinum driver. Yay. Okay, that really means nothing when you're playing online, okay? But you have here track competence. This is what you're going to have to get into before you do anything else, because in order to get into certain lobbies online or certain servers, like me, I joined SOP and CRN. They're really a great community. I do highly suggest that you try and find their Discord and join. A lot of our guys have already. Really, really awesome community that puts on console events and great races. We did the Kalami. What SOP is basically working in. I mentioned this a couple times already, but it's worth mentioning again. It goes in collaboration with David Perel's The Sim Grid and Coach Dave Academy, and basically they put on the same type of events that they do for the Sim Grid on PC into console. So SOP and CRN are really, really a great group to be a part of. Okay, so getting back to these track medals, what you need to do is you need to go to every single track and you need to complete 4 clean laps. And what a clean lap means is you just can't go off, spin, etc. It doesn't have to be at a blistering pace, but that's what you're going to want to do first. You're going to want to get in there, get into a track, start off with something you know, and just start banging out a few laps, 4 or 5. It takes 4, but bang out as many as you want, and you'll see your track medals will start to unlock. That's the first step into getting into any lobby. All this other stuff, consistency, car control, pace, safety, racecraft, that is going to all start to build up over time, and they all kind of work together. They work off of each other, except for the track competence. That's something that's different. For example, safety. You need over a 70 safety rating to get into a lot of lobbies. So, you could also pull up stats of where you've been on track wise, but you'll look at your rating, and that's going to be most important. So you could always come in to check that out. Now let's get into single player here. Okay, so this is my Ferrari. I have 2 different looks. Okay, now when you're on the wheel, you can't on my wheel. Some wheels you can. On the G29 you cannot spin the car to see what different type of liveries or what they look like. So you're going to want to do showroom if you are making a livery on the wheel. Again, it's a little tricky with this because when you have the controller turned on and then you turn your wheel on, your wheel will sometimes lock up. So what you want to do is log into the controller first. If you're just coming in to make a livery, just use the controller. Don't worry about using the wheel. Exit out of the game when you're done with your livery, and then go from the wheel. But if you're streaming or you're doing this from the wheel, just go to showroom when you're done and you can see the design, and if you want to change it you can. So we'll show you real quick how we would do a livery, because a lot of people have confusions on liveries. Like, there's still people out there that don't know how to make a livery right now. So let's start. Okay, I'll make a Mercedes. I haven't made too many GR4 cars. I haven't driven actually too many GR4 cars, but they're pretty cool. Okay, so we have the filter here to go through all of them, right? So here's all the GR4 cars that you have. All right, so I do like the Benz, so let's just make a Mercedes livery. So what you want to do is you want to add here, and you see how I hit add, and now it brought me to just some sort of blank generic livery. Okay, the weird thing is, what you have to do is you have to put a car number in first. Okay, so I'm going to do all this from the wheel. The car number in first, and you have to put in a name. So whatever your team name is, or whatever you want it to be, you put that in, and then you come down here and you save it. Okay, so it's just a generic livery. Now you can see that there's Rockafella Racing number 47. Okay, now if you don't do that and you try and go down to the designs and the nationality and all that, it's not going to allow you to change. So you have to go to your number and your team name first, hit save, then come back in here right away and hit edit. Now when I hit edit, I could go to nationality, and there's the USA. The cups, you could do overall pro-am, as it changes the whole number plate. Now design, design 1, design 2, design 3, design 4, 5. Okay, so there's not too many designs here, but they're not too bad either. So again, guys, I'm not going to go crazy. Let's just stick with this 4 here. The sponsor is what your wing would be. So you have Logitech, you have Fnatic, you have Thrustmaster, and there's a bunch of different ones that the game comes with. But let's just go here. Let's go to let's go to a different base color here. Let's go to a black base with okay, so I'll have my green, and then my white. Okay, the wheels, same scenario. You could have something on the outside of the rims. Now they could have did a better job with these. Okay, what I tend to do, what I like to do, is go like the chrome will give you a dark look. You could even do that on some of the paints. The paints are really cool if you do that. I'm just gonna stick with a black on the rims, because this is just for this video's sake here. Auxiliary light, you could change that. I never really see them, to be honest with you, so I'm not too sure on auxiliary lights, but let's see what this looks like if it was. There's satin, there's matte, glossy, there's chrome, so you see how it changes that green, kind of changes nice with chrome. Now you could do really cool stuff when you're on the controller. You could open the door, you could zoom in, check the inside, the right door, same thing. But let's just go to showroom and check this out and see if we like what we have. Again, when you're on the wheel, it's a little bit harder. For the G29s or wheels that you can't spin the car around. So I'm just gonna rock and roll like this in the showroom category. And if I really wanted to down the line, I could just come back in here and work with my controller to see if I like what the car looks like and go from there. So I'm pretty happy with this. But this is how you make a livery, guys. Works like that with GT3s and GT4s. Pretty good. Sweet looking car, in my opinion. Pretty solid. So I will save this car, okay? So save, overwrite existing car. I don't know why it would do that, but maybe they only give you a few cars to overwrite with. But no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Duh, because we saved the first car with just the generic livery. Remember when I told you to put the number and the name in? So yeah, so you go over here and you save and you overwrite the existing car. So now this is your new Mercedes livery. So you could still, now when you go to choose Mercedes, you could still choose any of the original liveries that come with the car. So you see these two here, we're in Mercedes category, and this is the team, AMG Motorsports. But I can go to Bullet. Okay, so 33 and 66, they give you some little differences there. You can go to all these different ones, and these are the main ones that come with it. Now there's Rockafella Racing, so there's mine, but you could also choose these guys if you want, and it has the drivers down at the bottom, which are the official drivers. So all that's pretty cool. Works the exact same way with the GT3 cars. So there's mine, and we'll confirm that. And there it shows our livery, okay? So perfect. So what I want to do here is I want to get into the 2019s, which is my Ferrari. Same deal. Okay, you can go look. Oh, maybe. Stream must have cut out. Sorry. Yeah, that was weird. Bear with me, guys. Let me just see. I don't know if it's still live or not, because the controller cut out. Another thing I hate about that. Let me just check out and see if it's still going here. Let me just end. See if it's still going here. Yeah, no, it's. I think it's still been good. So, yeah, it just happened to cut out for a minute. Yeah, no, anyway, I'm really sorry about that, guys. But that's the lack of the controller being. The lack of the controller being used. So again, you can come in here, pick any of the original cars, or you could pick your own. So you confirm that. I don't know what I don't know what you guys like better. Do you like the straight up black and the green matte? That's usually my custom color core combos, but I went Italian here. So let's go with the Italian look. And now you have these scenarios here that you can get into, which are also pretty cool. So you could do the practice mode. You could change the time, the time of day, and the time multiplier. Self-explanatory stuff. Hot lap, super pole, hot stint, quick race. This is what most people do. Sprint weekend, endurance race. 6-hour race. I usually come over here and do a custom race where there's a pit stop window in there, and you could go on the skills of the opponents. I would recommend. I turned it down. I had it on 95 and 90 aggression, but I would go 90 to start. Because if you go to like Monza or somewhere, I would avoid Monza, to be honest with you, with the AI, because they're really, really good in this sim, and they will crush you. So you got to be careful about that. But you could actually do the race time multiplier. So if you're doing like an hour race, but you want it to almost feel like it's a 24-hour race, you could change this all the way up to times, I think, 48, which would go really quick. But yeah, 48. But most of the time multipliers in online servers, when you get with a community, are ×2, sometimes even 1. They're not going to be really too much after that. That's why I always have it on 2. They're not going to be more than that, basically. So like I said, to start out, before you even get into multiplayer, when you look over here, it'll say you need a SA rating of 70 to get in here. I would stay away from these. I mean, you could do it. It tells you the track is Nürburgring. It's a 15-minute qualifying, a 60-minute race, 10-minute pit window, no refueling. Pretty cool. Okay, that's not a bad deal here. But over here, I would really stay away from quick join, because it's just going to toss you into some random lobby server with some unpredictable drivers and all that. And it's going to get you frustrated because there are rammers, there's just aggressive drivers. So once you join a community and you know what's going on, you will have a server list that you can go to, and you could look at these servers, and if you wanted to, you could hop into some of these servers. I'm not saying don't do that, and your stats will build up from there once you do that. But remember, you got to get a 70 safety rating to get in there, okay? To get into pretty much any of these. You can see SA rating 70. This is a 25 SA rating. You want to stay away from that. So stay away from most of this stuff. But if you know a server, you just got to type the name in, and boom, you'll wind up getting there. But we're not going to worry about online right now. This video is not for online. We're going to get into single player, and we're going to go practice at Nürburgring 9 o'clock in the morning times 2. The time multiplier. So it's just going to run a little quicker than real time. Now, you could get into track conditions here. So ideal track conditions is a clear day. Cloudy, you could have light rain, medium rain, heavy rain, storm. You could do custom, okay? But when you first start out, you're going to want to start out on a clear day until you get the hang of the game, and you could change all this stuff, guys. So, but just stay on a clear day for now. And what that's going to do is, you'll see if we start the session now, that's going to give you the ambient temperature outside. The air temperature is saying 27 and the track temperature is 38. That's really hot. Those are like ideal racing conditions. So this is where the meat and potatoes are, which I know was a long intro, but this is where everything really comes down to. So you can see the track up top is green. It's a timer's over there for 5 minutes and 15 minutes of what what the weather's gonna do. So we have sunshine in 15 minutes from now. So the track temperature is actually the same temperature as the outside temperature, which is very rare in this sim, but on nice days you'll get that. Okay, so what you want to do when you come in here is you want to go, it depends on your driving style, but I would go with the aggressive setup, but you could go with the safe setup just so you don't get yourself in a mess of trouble here. Okay, now you have tire pressures, which are key in this game. That means everything in this game, okay? Tire pressures are the most important thing that you're going to run into. Then you have the electronics area here, where your TC control, your ABS, the ECU, and you see how the Ferrari has 2 traction controls. So you could play around with that. 6 is pretty heavy. I don't personally like that, but I'll just drop it down 1 for now. I usually run mine on 3, possibly 4. And again, like I said, I had that button that I can move it up or down where I'm in a race, and if the track changes, it's going to be helpful. And you will need track control in this sim. If you try running traction control on 0, you're going to spin around and it's lights out. Then you have your fuel, okay? Now, your fuel is important. There's many apps out there that's a calculator, basically, to let you know how many laps and liters of fuel you need per lap. So you see it's 2.88 lap estimate per lap. It always comes with 62 liters in it when you're just stock, just playing around here. Tire set is 1. Front brakes, when in the beginning, you're going to want to leave them on 1, because 1 is good for like an hour, maybe an hour and a half. Okay, 2, just figure brakes 2 is for anything more than an hour. Okay. Then when you get down here, this is your pit stop strategy. So in practice, we don't have to worry about a pit stop, obviously. But when you're in a race, you're going to need to worry about a pit stop. So that's when you would figure out how much more fuel do I need. You're going to go on different tire sets. That doesn't matter. They're all slicks. And then you would adjust your tire pressures based on where your pit stop would be and what the track temperatures are. So we'll get into that in a little bit as well right now. Mechanical grip. I would recommend that you start not to mess around with this at all. Dampers, I wouldn't get too worried about this stuff at all either. Ride height is very important. It is very important, and brake ducts are important depending on the temperature outside, especially if it's raining, you know, or the track is damp. But in the beginning, I wouldn't mess with that stuff, okay? So just get used to the car at first, all right? Now, when you come in here on the safe preset or even on the aggressive preset, it's going to have your tire temperatures for you, okay? And it's going to set something up for you just like this. And it's going to be up to you to figure out, where do I need my tire pressures to be once they're running hot. If you look at the top left, you see OMI. OMI means it's the reading of the tire, how there's 3 readings there. Then there's the wear under it. And the most important number you're going to have to look at is PSI hot. So that number, when the tire is fully hot, is where you want to have your pressures adjusted from. So the main goal is to get all of our pressures at 27.5. That's what we pretty much want. It's easier said than done in some track circumstances, but that's what we want. So we're going to leave everything as it is right now, and we're going to go drive, okay? So
green light, go, go, go.
Now you can see on the top right how I have all the stats I was talking about. The CP is the competition server. I haven't really even messed with competition server, okay? I don't like messing around with competition server. I do, like I said, I do leagues and all that. Now, if you look at my tires right now, that's reading 25.4. You see how they're dropping? Because I'm sitting in the pits right now, and they're not warm. They're getting cooler. They're getting cooler. And you can see how those 3 bars on inside the tire is losing pressure. So you could have a puncture if you hit a curb too hard, or if you continue to sit, your tires are going to get ice cold. You see how my in between the dark blue is my brakes? That's going to get ice cold. So it's important that you start to take it easy when you first get out there, okay? I will show you the different views too. Here's one view. Here's the hood view. There's the bumper cam view. There is the chase cam view. Okay. Another chase cam further view. Now this is what I was talking about with one-to-one. When you go to your steering lock, you turn the wheel, and you'll watch how far you turn the wheel, and if it's a reaction and it's turning about the same, which mine is. So I'm pretty happy with that. And this is the view that I personally drive in. Okay, so we're going to get out on track.
Low tire pressure, stay clear of the curbs.
So he just told you that. Stay clear of the curbs. So to set your tires up, you're not going to be able to tell anything right now until you run about 2 to 3, maybe even 4 laps. Is probably the best thing to do. Again, when you start getting into the car at first, do not worry about speed. Just worry about feel and not spinning out. And you got to warm up your tires. You'll start to see now, obviously, they're starting to get warm a little bit. Well, not yet, but they're increasing. You could even do this, really helps. You want to get on the brakes a little bit, warm the brakes up. That's why in formation laps in the race, you're going to need to do that. And this sim does not like curbing like GTS, for example, especially in mid-engine cars like a Ferrari compared to the Bentley. You could totally ride curbs over in the Bentley a lot more, especially the GT4 cars. Oh my god, you could run the curbs over so much. Alright, so I'm just taking it easy, guys, okay? Now, this is going to be part of what you're going to do for your track competence. So, all your track medals. You just want to run some smooth, clean laps. Wow, this TC is really on. But you see how my tires are starting to heat up now? So, we're going to see... Don't talk and drive at the same time. That was horrible. We're going to see where we need our tire pressures to be in another lap or two. Now, the top left is obviously your lap count and your timer on where you are, how many laps you're on, and your timer. You could, in practice modes, especially when you're gaining your track medals, you could invalidate a lap by running too wide or off track and exceeding the track limits. But you won't do that in a race. In a race, you have a lot more lenience because if there's no time gained, you're not worried about invalidating laps in a race. You're just worried about that in practice or when you're gaining track medals. But in a race, you have 3 warnings of time that you actually gained before you get a drive-through. You'll see in races eventually where it'll say no time gained. It'll say track limits exceeded, no time gained. And you don't have to worry about that. In a practice mode, it's just going to invalidate your lap time and turn it red. Again, guys, everything with this sim is smooth. It's about being smooth. It's hard for me to drive with this traction control this high right now, but alright, let's try and put a good lap down here. Again, I'm just being smooth. I'm not looking to go for a crazy lap time here. You don't want to run this curve over like Gran Turismo. You want to come out wide here. Different lines. Look at how different this final chicane looks. This is the real life look of it, not the big bump that you have in Gran Turismo. So it's a lot different, guys.
Well done, mate. Personal fastest lap.
Okay, so we're going to run one more lap, but I'm just going to show you guys another horrible entry point to that turn, but I'm just going to show you guys what I'm talking about tires. Because now our tires are hot. You can see they're all green. And you can see the brakes are, you know, pretty much green too. So that's what you want. That's really, that's good. That's what you want. Again, keep in mind, I'm on the safe setup, and all I did was put the TC down to 5. I didn't change the ride height, I didn't change anything, which is also going to be key components, but you could still get a really good feel for things without having a setup and without having like any major changes done. Okay, now look at my tire pressures. Tire pressures are basically out of whack here. I got my front left at 27. I got my front right at 26.1. The rear 26.6, left 26.4. This is not what we want, okay? Now you see my consistency as well dropped, which is the CN dropped from 91 to 90, but you could work on that separately and get that back no problem. Don't worry about that stuff right off the bat, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're going to return to the garage. So you just stop, okay? Now look, we started and the track temperature was 27 degrees and the air temperature was 27. So the air temperature outside is still 27, but now the track temperature is 29. That could be from the cars that are driving on the track are starting to heat it up a little bit. So that's how realistic this sim is. So when there's more traffic on the track, it'll start to get rubbered in, as you call. Okay, so obviously you know that. So that changes there as well. It's not going to change drastically like that, but you know, it's not going to make a 10-degree jump, but it could with the weather change, or it could come down. So if we were going to say race here from 3 in the afternoon and the race was going to play into 7 o'clock at night, that will obviously change the track temperature. So you got to always be looking at track temperature to figure out what you're going to be doing with tires. So now we come in here, okay? So now we're going to go back to setup, and we're going to look at. So we stay in the current setup, which is the safe setup, and all I did was put the traction control down to 5, as you see there, okay? So now, when we first started here to the left-hand side, we saw no numbers. There was no numbers. Remember the OMI, the wear, and the PSI hot? There was no numbers. So now we did, what'd we do? 3 to 4 laps, and now we have a baseline to figure out where we need to be. So if you look at our front left tire, when the PSI, when the tire is hot, it was only at 26.7 psi. So what you need to do is, okay, ideally you're looking for that tire to be at 27.5. So I would say, okay, The track temperature now, look, it went up. It's now 29 degrees Celsius. Okay, so always pay attention to that. All right, that's why tire temps are going to constantly change, because the time of day, it's 9 o'clock in the morning, and now it's going to become 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. The more you practice and the hotter it gets during the day, the hotter the track temperature is going to get, as along with other cars racing on the track are going to make the track temperature hotter. So those are really the two key components: track temperature, tire pressure. So getting back to tire pressure, front left, when it says hot, it's at 26.7. I need it to be at 27.5. So what does that mean? How do I do that? Okay, well, if I'm at 25.7 right now, I have to go 3 clicks would bring me to 27, and then another 5 clicks would bring me to 27.5, right? So 26.7, 1, 2, 3 is 27, and then another 5 clicks would bring me to 27.5. So I have to take this front tire here and go 1, 2, 3. That's going to put me at 27. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 26.5 for the front is going to eventually get me at 27.5, what I'm looking for. I come over to this side, we're 26.1. Obviously your tires are wearing different. Some tracks are harder on one side of the car than they are on the other, so the tires wear differently, the pressures are different. So 26.1, what do I need to be at? I need to be at 27.5. So this actually has to come up a lot, a decent amount. So I have to go up 9 to get to 27. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That puts me at 27, and another 5 to get 27.5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 27.1 there. The left rear, we're at 25.1, but when the PSI was hot, it was at 26.1. So we have to come up similar. 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's going to get me at 27.5. This was at 26.2, so 1 less than the rear left. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That's 27.5. So I just want everybody to understand that you have to look at, and again, you can't just do one lap and say, okay, let me come in the pits. You need to do a good 3 or 4 laps at pretty decent pace to really figure out where you're going to need to be. And tire pressures are everything. It's going to make the car feel so much better. Alright? So, now you know how to change your tire pressures here. So now you know, okay, this is where I should be at. Come back over here, tire set. Every time you return to the garage, it's going to change your tire set to a new set of slicks. So don't worry about that. That's fine. All right, and you can see now my fuel per lap has changed because I wasn't really up to pace as it initially thought. So that will change as well. So wherever your pace is at in practice or before you're actually in a race, then you'll know how much fuel you need. But when you're competing against the computer, the AI, and you're doing like, you know, random races, practice races against the AI, the fuel, you're not going to have to worry about it. You'll be able to calculate it pretty evenly, even if you're not up to full pace. Okay, so we didn't change anything here. We didn't get into the rear wing. We didn't get into ride height. All we're worried about is tire pressures. So now, you hit circle, we're going to continue, and now you can see right away that my tire pressures are already higher than they were before we at first left the pits. So let's go out, and again, our goal is to get to 27.5. So let's see if we can accomplish that. But I'm telling you guys, once you start getting used to this sim, it's unbelievable. You're gonna have a really good time. And there's a ton of people out there already who have massive experience. There's a lot of people, I don't know why they would do this, but just for, you know, S's and giggles, they have a PC, but they bought it on PS4 as well, just to see how it is. And obviously they're, you know, trolling a lot of PS4 players, which I would probably do too, just for the hell of it. So I'm not hating on anybody, but again, there's a lot of drivers already in this sim that have a ton of experience, that are really fast, and all of it came from learning how to do this stuff. And then you can get into all sorts of setups as well. But you know what? Even with a setup package, it's not going to prove to be perfect for tires, because the setup that somebody gives you, they don't know what the track temperature is. So you have to be competent enough to always figure out what your tire pressure needs to be. So we could change things like dampers, ride height, traction control, toe angle, camber, rear wing, brake ducts. You can change all that. But if you don't have the right tire pressure, you're going to be in a world of trouble. So that's going to be your first order of business, is tire pressure. I don't care if you're running aggressive setup, you're running a safe setup. I don't care what car you're in GT3 wise. That's going to be your first goal, is to get the tires correct. And for GT4 cars, just in case you're wondering, it's about a pound less PSI, so it's going to be around 26.5, give or take. There's some debate on that. I'll have to get back to you on that. But we're worried about GT3s right now. Okay, so some of you might be saying, okay, well, your front tires right now is at 27.7 on the front side, on the front right. That's okay, because sometimes it gets a little hot, and it might be, the track temperature might be changing right now, and my rear isn't there yet. But the two front lefts, the front left and the rear left are. So it might take a little bit more adjusting now that the track temperature has changed. Yikes. See how I invalidated that lap there because it went red? So I was trying to pay attention to the tires. You really also have to pay attention to what you're doing, because otherwise you're going to be all over the place. You'll get used to it like anything else, but alright, let's see what we can do here. Stupid. I'm in the grass, of course. And I'll tell you, the car, you could feel the car start to feel better. It's got more grip. It's doing what I want it to do. Pressures are a little bit too high as I start to have the track get rubbered in and the time of day is changing. So again, minor adjustments, not a problem. And if you run a little bit high, you know, that's not a big deal. You know, like if you're at, if you do reach, like, yeah, it's a little bit high at 28.1, so I would have to adjust that. Because you don't want it there. and I can feel the front right. It's like pushing out over understeering right now. I'll also give you guys this view. There's the helmet view. Hood, like we said, chase. A lot of people like this view. I mean, this is a pretty cool view. But when it rains, I don't know, me personally, I like the other view, but this is definitely a drivable, pretty solid view. Okay, so my front tires are definitely a little too high. But again, this is what practice is for. So you could always go a little bit lower and go from there. But that's going to be what you're going to be focused on at first. And then once you get your tire pressure set, then you're good to go to just start pounding out laps, and you will eventually start to feel your tires wear, and you're going to want to come into the pits. So there's going to be one more thing that we're going to get into here before I show you what we're going to do next here. So superb views, I mean really great views. Cockpit view is just, I mean this is definitely a cool view. But again, I feel more focused and better on this view personally, but that's just me. Alright, so our pressures as we see, 28 in the front, even went to 28.1, okay? So we're going to return to garage, okay, and we're going to go back into setup, okay. So when you're back in the setup now I come and look at the track temperature and look at the temperature outside. It's 28 degrees Celsius now, and the track temperature rose to 30. Okay, so that is why, that along with me, now again, this isn't like, it's not like a new track reappears every time you return to the garage. The track already has rubbered in marks from me driving on it this whole time that I've been driving on it. So it's not like you come back to the garage area here and it's like, oh, the track is brand new and it's all clean again. And no, unless you quit the session and re-enter in a whole brand new session, then that would be the only time the track wouldn't start laying down rubber like we've been doing. So all the laps that we just did prior, the track is picking up that rubber. So that's another reason why, okay? So again, now I would say, to be on the safe side, I would say, okay, we went a little too high here. We're at 28.1, all right, with the track rose 3 degrees on us, and it also got rubbered in a little bit more. So I'm too high. So I got to come in here and go back down 6 clicks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 26 here, okay? Because ideally I want to be at 27.5. Now you can anticipate, and like you see over there where it says 5, and then in 15 minutes it's still going to be sunny. Well, I know I started this practice at 9 in the morning, so 10 in the morning, 11, and then 12 in the afternoon, 1 in the afternoon. If I were to stay in here and continually run laps, or if I knew the race was going to be like an hour, I know, okay, the track is going to get hotter, so I could adjust my tire pressure. So I could say, all right, there you go, 31 degrees, the track Celsius just went to 31. So I could play the card where I'll be a little bit under the 27.5 to start with. So we could even go into like 25.9 here, and over here we were at 27.9. Okay, so that's we got to come down like 4 or 5 clicks. Okay, so over here 27.4, we were pretty good. I would probably leave this here, and I would even maybe go down 1 or 2, because the track is going to continue to heat up. So when our PSI was hot, we were at 27.4. Over here we were at 28, so I'm going to go down here and probably stay somewhere around here to compensate for the track getting hotter as we drive along, and also the temperature in the day increasing. So guys, that is what it's all about as far as how you want to try and set your tires up. Now when you do that in practice, like before an actual race or anything like that, then you'll be good to go, and you'll know what you're doing. You'll have practice time, then you'll have a qualifying time, and then you'll have the actual race. So if there's a pit stop involved, you'll have to come over here and play around with this. You'll have, again, there's many calculators out there to figure out how to figure out your fuel, okay? But you'll have to come down here, and you see, if you don't mess around and add fuel, some races are mandatory fuel, some aren't. Some are mandatory tires, some aren't. But you always want to make sure that if you do need to change tires, or you do need to add fuel, that your tire set is different from your pit stop, or they will be the same. So or they won't change the tires. So typically you would start out with tire set 1, and you would have tire set 3 or whatever in the you would have tire set 3 in the pit stop strategy. Okay, we could add, if we needed an extra whatever amount of liters you want to do, you could split them up if fuel is necessary. Okay, and you will come down here, and now what you would want to do is you would obviously want to make sure that you put your tire pressures that we have here, you would want to match them up to here for your pit stop. Otherwise, if you don't change this for your pit stop, it's going to put on your tire pressures, and you're going to be way off, just like we were in the beginning. Your brakes, the same thing. Your front brakes need to be on 1, okay? Unless you're running a really long race, then whatever they are up here is what you want them on down here in your pit stop, okay? But typically, like I said, for an hour race or shorter, you want your brakes to be on 1. Alright? So, if we were doing this 25.9, 26.6. So you come down here, 25.9, 26.6. I go back and look. Now, like I said, remember how I figured the track is going to get hotter? So I could even do 25.7 and 25.7 and 26.4, just for example there. And then 25.8, 26.2. So I could do 25.8, 26.2. Just double check that. Okay. Now we're set up for our pit stop, depending on, again, how much fuel you would need. Okay. And now we're ready to go again. Now, remember I said, guys, that you need to have your MFD, your HUD. Well, my button is X. Okay, so here I hit the X button. It shows me down on the bottom my name, my ID, and here we go. We get into some of the main things that you're going to need. So, your brake bias, you could play with that. Your ABS, you could play with that. Your TC, if you didn't assign a button to it, and you happen to be on the go and you didn't do that in your safe preset, you could do that right here. Your engine map, your lights, your wipers, okay? The dash, you actually have different dash that you could put on. Dash 1, dash 2. It just kind of reads a couple different things. Alright, that's for the tack that's in there. The pit limiter is on. Ignition is on. Starter on, off. Now you hit X again, and it goes into everything different. So when you're on the track, you don't see what the temperature is outside. You don't see what the track what the track temperature is, and you don't see what's going to happen in a few minutes, 5 minutes and 15 minutes. So it could start to rain in 15 minutes from now, and if you're on track, you wouldn't necessarily know that. So that's why you have all sorts of information on the go here where you could change your pitch strategy. So pitch strategy 1 is what we're set up on right now, and it's going to put that much fuel in, which you could always change on the go. You say, wow, I'm coming up short, I need to add more fuel. Or, wow, I'm not running as fast, I don't need to add as much fuel, I'll go down to 20 liters. You could figure that out. Change tires, you're always going to really want to do that, but sometimes you might not. Okay, if it starts to rain, you could change it to the wet setup. Okay, change tires, but you would need to have that on your in the menu. You would need to have that as part of your other pit strategy. So pit strategy 2 could be wet tires. But without getting too complicated, on the go here, while you pull this up, you could see what your tire pressures are. Look how much they dropped when I'm sitting in the pits here. But you could see what they are and say, oh wow, you know what? Alright, my front tire is really overheating right now on my front left. So I'm gonna drop that down to 27.5, and I'm gonna drop this down to 26.2 and 25.7, 26. You could change all that on the fly. That's what's great, guys. So that's why it really becomes a big deal for when you're driving. Yeah, it's not the easiest thing in the world to like pull up menus and stuff when you're driving, but this kind of right here gives you the track temperature, what it's going to do in 15 minutes, and if you need to, before your pit stop is happening, you could pull this up, and little by little you could work your way to manage to change your tire pressures. Or if you know you're going to pit within like the next lap, you could just leave this on, and before you get to the pits, and even while you're driving down in pit lane, you could change that. So I'll show you here what I'm talking about. So say you were coming in and you knew you were coming in this lap, and let's say our tires were hot like they were before, you'll be able to fix this in pit lane before you actually even get into the pits. Or actually while you get into the pits and you're rolling down pit lane, you'll be able to fix it. Again, guys, I know this is a long video, a little bit longer than usual, but I'm just trying to set this up for a lot of people that are just starting off. So, you know, show some support, hit the like and subscribe button. We're going to get into racing in an actual minute here, but let's get into pit lane here, okay? Haha, that would be a penalty in SFR. Now it tells you to go slow with the pit limiter, but we have the pit limiter on. So you see, there's your line right there. So I could be going, and boom, automatically my pit limiter kicks in. But you want to try and slow down for that. Now look, I could change here. 26.5, 27. Okay, I want to go up. I want to go down one. I want to go down one here. I want to go down one here, or you know, like here. So you could do all that right before you get to the pits. You could change things. And now pit entry is important to get this right, to where you stop. It's key. I overshot that a little bit, so it's going to take me longer now for them to jack my car up. You see that? You want to hit that, boom. You want to hit that like right on the dot. Now once your car goes up on the jacks, now you can't do anything with this pit stop with your MFD. You can't change anything. But you at least have the opportunity to change your tire pressures or any other settings that you want when you're done, when you're entering pit lane. So you pull this up, your MFD, and now you're good to go, and you can change it on the fly. So if you realize that the my normal screen. There. And you'll know what position you're in. So when I just change my tire pressures, they put on what I told them to put on here. And you could do the same thing again. Like if you had to pit again, all right, so we would come in here and we would be able to change them again. Look, I could change it again and again and again and again. So you always have this to play around with. And you see how it says the track is now green. So that's pretty important. So this is going to be pretty much your key to success here. So what we want to do is we want to remember that in the beginning, we're going to quit this here, but in the beginning you want to have all three of your tracks, all three track medals by actually doing 4 clean laps, okay? And even when you do that, you want to start playing around with your tire pressures. You know, you could do the 4 clean laps on all the tracks. Like I said, some of them put the line on if you're not sure about the track, and others, you know, that you don't need the line. But again, practice is one thing. You just have to go into the practice track. It could be any time of day you want, and you could practice all the tracks, and you'll get stars for that as you practice. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys one more thing here. I'm going to show you how to build up your safety rating, and then I'm going to call it quits on the stream here. I would honestly, I would avoid Monza, guys. Honestly, I would, because Monza, I mean, practice at Monza, absolutely, but to race at Monza, I would be careful with that, because it's a pretty crazy, it could get crazy here. It can get crazy there. So let's do a 10-minute race. Time multiplier on 4. Okay, like I said, I would recommend leaving the opponents on 90 to begin with. Single make, you want to disable that. You want multiple cars, multiple makes. Will put me in 5th. Okay, remember you got to hit X to confirm it. And we're going to go to Silverstone. And I could do this here again, guys. So even in a single race, a quick race, anything you want, you could go on to change the weather. Now, even if you leave it on clear and even if you leave it on clear and you change the variability, this is unpredictable. This might mean like in 2 minutes it might start raining. You just don't know. But just to get the feel for things in the beginning, you want to leave it at like, I just leave mine at 1 when I know it's a clear day. But you could do the cloudy, you could do the rain, medium, heavy. Cloudy is going to give you, look at the temperature of the track, the ambient temperature, 22, 27, 5-degree difference. And with the cloud cover, it's going to be a lot different. So we're going to start, okay, and I'm going to show you guys how to get your safety rating up where you don't want to go too crazy and worry about winning races. So when you could build your safety rating up, this way you could actually get into the lobbies, the servers, after you complete your track medals of doing the 4 laps at every race. Look at race control gave me track limits, no time gain. Thank you very much. I didn't even know that. You can get track limits on the grid, guys. Thank you. So, the track is now fast instead of green. So that makes a difference. The temperature outside is 27, okay? This is only a 10-minute race, so I'm not going to go crazy here and show you guys. But I have a reading. Look, so I have a reading from what my safe setup is. So it's giving me a reading here. So 28.1. What do we want to do? That's a little bit too hot. So we want to go down 28, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We don't want it at 28. We want it at 27.5. Remember? This was at 27.9 when it's hot. So I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. 27.4. This was actually almost perfect, so I could leave it there. I could go up 1. This was at 28, so I'm going to go down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Electronics, again, the safe setup comes with everything on 6. I'm just going to put it on 5 because, like I said, I usually drive with it on 3, but fuel strategy, it's a 10-minute race. We don't have to worry about a pit. Remember what I said, just drop your fuel down. I mean 40 is still too much, but it doesn't matter. We'll leave it at that. Front brakes, anything under an hour is 1. Under an hour is 1. Pit stop, you're not going to have to worry about in this type of race. It's so quick. Again, we're not messing around with dampers, tow, arrow. We're not messing around with anything here. We're just getting involved with the race and our tire pressures. So let's go, guys. Let's see what we could do here. All right. So what you want to do here is you do not want to be super aggressive. Okay, you don't want to be passing cars. What you want to do is you want to stay within a second of each car, and that will give you some good safety points. You'll start to build safety up if you stay within a second of each car. And you could hit this X button if you want to get rid of this stuff and just be a clear screen.
Green light, go, go, go. Car on the left. Clear on the left. Car on the left.
Alright, I'm gonna let him take it. I'm not gonna worry about it. Go ahead. Take it, Ashton, go ahead. And like I said, on 90 aggression, on 90 they're pretty aggressive. I mean, they're very good. They're not no slouches. Look at Schultz is already out, and the Merc. The Merc's a very underrated car, guys. It's an older one, but it's underrated. So I also got to let my tires heat up here.
Car on the right.
That was a little too aggressive on my part. I'm going to give that back to him.
Car on the right. Clear on the right.
But to build your safety rating up, you just want to stay within a safe distance of the car in front of you and also behind you. As long as they're within a second, you'll start gaining safety points and your safety will come up quick. So it's not about winning races in the beginning, it's just about sticking with the cars and learning your pace, learning the tracks. And remember, for the first few laps, you got to let your car heat up, tires heat up. Now, if for some reason somebody rear-ended me and it was a long race or something like that, or longer, I could enter the pit lane I could enter pit lane anytime I want and just get repairs done, or, you know, that whole thing. Now, my safety rating is at an 89. I've had it up to a 95, but in online races, they're gonna get, it's, you know, things are gonna move. You know, this is guaranteed gonna move around. So let's see if I could get it at least back up to a 90 right now, and I'll show you after every lap that you do, you'll get it. It'll turn green and click up a little bit. And in the beginning, you guys are going to actually be the stats are going to go quick, increase quick. Stay away from sausage curbs in this sim, like that curb right there. It will puncture your tire for sure. I haven't been at Silverstone in a while. Such a beautiful track. Let me tell you something. This Bentley has so much top end speed. It's not even funny. Now I could make a move on him if I want to, and maybe we will here.
Clear on the right.
No, he got me, so I'm gonna back off. Instead of being super aggressive, I'm just gonna back off there and wait until I have a better opportunity. That is what's going to get your safety rating up, guys. And again, this is a safe preset. All we did was mess with the tire pressure. And they're still not even up to temperature yet, because it's only been 5 minutes. The race has been too short, basically. So. I got you now.
Car on the right.
No,
On the right.
look at, I can't pull on him. Look at him. Look at him. Freaking thing's fast as shit.
We are halfway through. Keep pushing.
Alright, I'm gonna make it my job to pass this Bentley before this race is over. But don't be stupid and pass them in like a spot like there. You know, don't go dive bombing them, because any little crack, any little hit like that, your safety rating will take a beating. And it honestly is really good practice for Racecraft when you're going to be racing online and in servers.
Car on the right.
And I don't mean servers like
Clear on the right. Car on the left. Clear on the left.
Alright, that's gonna be track limit warning. See it
right.
popped up? Track limit, but no time gained.
Clear on the right.
Sorry, Bentley. So it's not really a track limit. I didn't gain time.
Well done, mate. Personal fastest lap.
So instead of passing the Aston and trying to make a move every 2 seconds, I'm just going to be riding. See, my SA went up to 90. You see that, guys? Because I'm just trying to ride behind them, not be super aggressive. So when you're first starting out, it's not really about winning races. Like, nobody cares about those stats. Like, yeah, do you want to get on a podium? Sure, but I mean, practice your racecraft first.
Car on the left. Clear on the left.
That might be track limit right there, but I didn't gain time. No, it wasn't even a track limit. It's a tough corner. You got to kind of short shift through it. I love Silverstone though. So as you continue to do this, you will continue to build up SA rating like nothing. It'll be like, you know, so quick you'll start to build it up. Oh my god, I almost just ruined everything I accomplished. Whatever you do, you want to avoid them at all costs of hitting them. That was some ugly driving there. But you see, finally my front left is coming up to temperature. Alright, we got one, what do we got? One more lap maybe here. Alright. Should we take the Aston? You think we could get the Aston?
Well done, mate. Personal best.
Personal best at 2:04. I mean, we should be running like 2 minutes here. But again, it's not about lap speed for when you're starting out. It's about learning the track and building up your ratings here. As you build up your ratings, when you're smooth on the brakes and being smooth on the throttle and smooth all over, you're going to be building up all these other statistics too. My consistency dropped down though, you see, because I wasn't handling that the right way. Where meaning that like I wasn't taking corners consistent, so that went to an 89 from a 90. That's usually somewhere, and then I'm usually at like a 95 or whatever. But I've had them at 99. They drop off. You can't worry about that too much. My tires are actually way too low for this race right now, so that was my fault from the beginning. But play around with your traction control, guys. You know, once you start getting used to the car, decide to see if you want to run an aggressive setup or not. You know, I mean, I personally start with the aggressive setup and then I work my way from there. I don't take setups from people, but I would recommend Coach Dave Academy has setups for sure that will definitely help. But you could find setups, but the truth of the matter is, guys, it's all about what feels good for you. You know, that's really the truth of the matter. So, and by the way, last tip, when you're done with a race, do not just pull over on the side of the road or like stop in the middle of the track, because these guys will hit you. And they will hit you, and your safety rating will get called out. So if I were to hit him right now, I would have gotten called out there. So you could, you know, it's like real life. You could hit the button right now to go, you know, back in the pits, or you could take it home and bring her in the pit lane. They got the fireworks going. Not too many people care about that. But again, guys, all about tire pressure. That's what it's going to be about at first. All about tire pressure. And from there, you'll be able to adjust things as you go. See? They come up out of nowhere. You don't have your spotter anymore to tell you there's a car on your left, car on your right. I got an Audi on my left right now. There he is. Now pit stops again. Pit stops are crucial. Gotta try and get pit stops right. This is the end of the race, so it's just gonna stop me, but alright, so we're on the podium. It'll give you a nice little it's gonna give you a nice little podium dance with your other guys. Hey, yeah. Okay. Yes. Jump around, Luca Schultz. Jump around. There you go, buddy. All right. So not really important, guys. So what does really bother me though is the replays. You cannot save the replay for a long period of time. But this is pretty cool though. You can come back here. They updated some things where like overtakes take place and stuff, and yeah, it's pretty cool. You can catch the replays for a little bit. They need to work on that though, so you can see exactly what happened. I would like to go back and watch replays, to be honest with you. Ferrari looks pretty good in my opinion, but yeah. Alright, we're gonna get out of here. So we're gonna quit that. And again, we've gone over pretty much some of the basic stuff that you're gonna need. So I do hope that this video was helpful for some of the people out there, especially my teammates. You know, for some of the people out there, as far as the little bit of customization that you could do with your driver, and the suits and the gear, the customization that you could do with your car livery, you know, whether you're on the wheel or the controller, you'll be able to look that over. But mainly, guys, is the tire pressures. It's all about the tire pressure. So on GT3s, the tire pressure is mainly a goal of 27.5 in the dry and about 30.5 to 31 in the rain. Now, we can make a whole nother video. You'll find other videos out there about, you know, rain and setups and all that. That's a whole nother animal, but it's good to get into that as well, because rain racing in this game is really cool itself. So yeah, that's something to consider too. And on the GT4s, guys, the GT4s is about 26.5 to, I've heard 26.3 to 26.8, that range, even 27s. But you'll notice that when you get into a G or GT3 car, you'll notice how stiff and how much more aero that they have compared to the GT4s. And like when you go over bumps and curbs in GT3s, you could feel it. I mean, you feel it like a lot when you're in the GT4 car, like the Camaro, for example. It just eats curbs. It's great. I mean, and there's a big difference with the Ferrari, the Audi, the McLaren, these low riding cars compared to like the Aston or the Bentley, you know, where curbs, going over curbs even in the GT3s are different. All these cars have like true real characteristics to them. So My last piece of advice is I would actually just try and go through the cars, you know, pick out a car that you think that you'd want to drive, something that you like, that feels good to you, and I would continue to drive the same car. I wouldn't, you know, constantly switch up the cars until you have a little bit more experience, and until you get used to things. So yeah, definitely try and stick with one car and then go from there and switch it up, and you'll notice a big jump. You'll notice a difference. I mean, big difference between mid-engine cars and front-engine cars, for sure. But yeah, stick with one car. And like I said, guys, please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. In the future, we're going to be streaming, live streaming our races that we do on ACC. I will be, hopefully some of my teammates, like I said, they're going to be converting over to Rockafella, from Rockafella onto ACC sooner than later. So look for us in SOP with CNR. You could join their Discords. I really suggest doing that. In one of the next videos I have, I'll put the description of their Discord in the description below. I'll put it in the next video, because tomorrow is actually the registration for Monza. I was telling you to avoid Monza, but when you're racing with other drivers, I say avoid it with the AI. But when you're racing with drivers, it's one of my favorite tracks, actually, and home track for me from Italy. So the only thing that stinks there is that I'm in the US and their BST time, so their midday is like our 6 a.m. So we got to wake up kind of early to get that spot, but and reserve a spot for the race. But it's all about how bad you want it, right? So look for me to be in one of those SOP races at Monza, and we'll be streaming that next. And yeah, we'll go from there, everybody. So thanks again. I appreciate it. Next up, we'll be on the SFR GT Challenge. Me and Rodrigo will be doing a stream for GTS since Josh is out until round 11. But thanks again, everybody. I do appreciate it. I know this was a rather long video, but I hope it helped everybody out there. And if you're new to the channel, like I said, leave a like and subscribe. That would be a big help. And we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.